Ever notice how some people seem to bounce back after a tough workout while the rest of us are still sore and limping around? The secret isn't just training harder, it's also about fueling smarter. What we eat can make recovery faster, reduce soreness, and even boost performance the next time we hit the gym, the field, or even the court. Stick around, because when we come back, you'll hear how omega-3s play a powerful role in recovery and performance right here on Decoding Seafood by Mowi.
Seafood isn't just a dish, it's a global story. The Decoding Seafood by Mowi podcast series explores the science, sustainability, and surprising truths behind the seafood you love, straight from the voices of those shaping the industry. From chefs, scientists, influencers, and insiders who live and breathe seafood and uncover what most of us never see. Hosted by Chef George Duran, you can find Decoding Seafood here on your favorite platform and at Mowi Salmon TV on YouTube.
Welcome back. This is Decoding Seafood by Mowi. I'm your host, George Duran. My guest today is Leslie Bonci, one of the top sports dietitians in the country. She has worked with NFL teams, written multiple books, and knows exactly how omega-3s can help athletes and the rest of us recover and perform at our best. Leslie, thanks for being on the show.
I am delighted to be here.
Tell me, why is it so important for athletes to be consuming omega-3s or seafood in general?
Well, when we think about athletes, their goal certainly is to optimize performance, but that's more than strength, speed, and stamina. It's also prepare and repair. You have to do that. I've never yet met an athlete that says, I want to be injured all season, right? We don't want that. Or, I want to be able to live well after my career is done. I want to stay healthy over the course of the season and not feel like I have the flu and I can't participate. So all those things help to keep somebody on the court, on the field, in the water, at the rink, wherever it is, they need the value added. And that's the why to include.
Right. So what is happening intramuscularly or just physically with the omega-3 fats or the seafood that they're eating that's helping them either repair or their endurance? What is actually happening in there?
So first of all, we're not just talking about like the omega-3 itself, but the omega-3 in the context of eating fish. So you're eating a food, and that food item is providing protein, which we know is critically important for muscle and for bone and ligament, tendon, joint. But above and beyond that, when we look at the benefit of the omega-3, so it is improving endurance capacity, so I can push at a higher level. If I'm strength training, I might get added value of my strength training when I combine my lifting with a food that is a source of omega-3. If I am keeping healthier because this is supporting my immune system, then I'm going to be able to play over the course of the season. It's allowing blood flow to be more efficient, and that's just not to the heart. That's for the entire body. And it is also may have a role to play in terms of decreasing inflammation. I think every athlete would say pain is kind of part of the picture. It is, but there's a difference between a little ache and crippling pain. So when somebody is including foods that have omega-3 in it, and that is suppressing somewhat of that inflammatory cascade, that is what is critically important. So many things that it does. It's just awesome.
Are we just learning about this right now? I mean, I've always remembered, incorporate more fish, the Mediterranean diet, but is this like a new discovery that we're seeing that high performance athletes are benefiting from things like eating seafood?
There have been some studies done here and there that have looked specifically related to heart health or immune system, but a very, very recent study that looked at compiling all of this research together. It's like, oh my God, 10 different things. And I think to me, the coolest part about it is the fact that the omega-3s are classified as a prebiotic. So now we are talking about gut health and taking care of our microbiome, making sure it has a good home, right? That is really something that's kind of cool to say, because not only might it help my brain and my heart and my vision, but my gut as well.
Yeah, one of the problems we're having in this country is that we just don't have the culture of eating seafood here. And there must be a way to communicate this to, all right, let's say children. Let's start from the very beginning. I have 2 kids. How do you communicate to them and tell them, hey, if you want to play soccer better, start with what you're eating, and seafood is a way to do it. How do you get into a culture, into Americans' minds, and tell them, all right, now you got to start eating seafood?
Well, it always starts with the why to try, and that means actually doing the taste it, because it doesn't matter if we say it, is how are we incorporating that into what we make? So maybe it's a little salmon slider.
Yeah.
Okay, that works, or something like a salmon croquette. That's an easy thing to do, or it could be I'm doing something like a little bit of a glaze, so it might have a little sweet taste to it in a kid-friendly amount, so it's not necessarily a big fillet of something where you have a child crying and leaving the room. This is how we start to do that. And I'm a very big believer on hands-on, hands-in. The more we get our kids involved in being part of the choice, in making that food, the more likely they are to try it.
Yeah, and the comparison of eating seafood versus just having the supplements with those omega-3s, there must be a world of a difference between doing the two, right?
Well, when you're doing an omega-3 supplement, so all right, now you have the omega-3 fatty acids, you have the DHA and EPA. But what you don't have is the protein. It's the seafood. You don't have the micronutrients, the vitamins and minerals that are inherent in the food, because you are just purifying and distilling to just get to that omega-3 supplement. And sometimes that's warranted, and sometimes people do it. They're not necessarily eating fish 7 days a week, but we also know that if you want to be strong and you want to have that good supporting structure, you need to have enough protein. So let's take that protein to the next level of truly be a pro and what's going to get you there.
And we're not just talking about professional athletes here. Everybody throughout your entire life from the very beginning, also like when kids are growing up and running?
Absolutely. There's a lot of kids that are involved in sports, and a lot of kids that are in club teams. Our two little Mr. Men right now are both playing soccer, and Princess does gymnastics. And so that's just the way that it is. I mean, that wasn't when my kids were playing. That option wasn't there. Now it is. And I think for parents that are thinking about this, what's on your training table at home? From our hearts to their bowls. What is it that they're eating that we can help them not only to grow well, but to play well and stay well?
And are you seeing, have you ever seen any situations where you've completely revamped the diet of a professional athlete and you've instantly seen, or at least progressively seen, them just performing much better because of that diet alone?
Well, we'd like to say that this happens overnight, and it doesn't. But, I do, and it's not so much the emphasis on what you're eating, but maybe what you're not doing, and kind of that value added, I'm looking at what you're eating right now, and we don't really have a lot of antioxidants. We don't really have a lot of vitamins and minerals there. And if you just take a vitamin mineral supplement, you have a well-supplemented crappy diet. So instead of that, we're going to think about it a different way around. And I think part of that is that buy-in and that trying it. It's like, I'm recovering more quickly. Oh, I actually stayed healthy this season. Or, oh, I didn't have an injury and I've had one every season before it. Ding, 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 ding. There it is. That's the ticket. That's what we're looking for.
Did you grow up eating a lot of seafood yourself?
Yes.
You did?
I did.
Why is that? How did it get incorporated into your family diet?
Because my mother was a terrible cook. God bless her soul. A terrible cook. And so it was like survival. And however, my grandmothers were both excellent cooks. And so, they both made a lot of fish because they did. I remember being in the kitchen, gefilte fish. We didn't buy it in the jars. We made it with the fish heads and the whole thing. We were doing it. And we just liked it. We just had it more. I personally, nothing in, I just don't like red meat. It doesn't do it for me. It's just, and I really do like fish. We do cioppino a lot because we do, and also because it's fast. So
delicious.
Even if it's hit, and it is delicious, right? That savor to flavor. I mean, that's what it is. If it doesn't taste good, people aren't going to eat it. But it's also a busy life. I don't have hours to be in the kitchen. I don't want to take hours. So I know if I'm making fish, bam, bingo, this is going to be done. 5 to 7 minutes, and both of our kids do, and the little ones do. We are just a fishful family.
We'll be back after this break.
Mowi salmon comes ready to cook, ready to grill, ready to season, or pre-seasoned, and ready to eat. And an assortment of flavors for an assortment of people. Mowi salmon.
Yeah, oh, that's wonderful, because it's I don't know if we're a fishful family. We're not a fishful family, unfortunately. I wish fishful, I guess. I kind of wish, I'm using your rhymes there. But I do know that the way I instigated my children to start eating salmon is by introducing them to salmon sushi. And that kind of like that marbling, kind of melt in your mouth kind of mouthfeel with the rice and so on, the dipping in the soy sauce, it got their appetites rolling with salmon. And now I start cooking and not overcook the salmon just right. And it kind of gets them instigated to start eating. And I'm wondering how much that helps, or maybe perhaps we have to just talk out there to parents out there who want to start getting the kids start eating fish, because I can't imagine a lot of kids out there are like excited about fish, and they should be. What can we make? How can we make these kids more excited about fish?
Well, and I think the idea of making it fun in terms of the look. So if it's something I can actually help to prepare myself, or, to be your own spice girl or spice boy. So I'm going to take that salmon and what am I dipping it into? And now I've discovered something I like spicy, or I like something a little bit more umami. I've taught cooking camp for kids for a long time. And this is one of the things, how you open up the palate with the try. And also the color, right? It's appealing when you're looking at something that's beautiful orange. I mean, this is it, is things that make it look fun, and just repeatedly trying. And I think for parents in particular, if you don't like it, keep your mouth shut. Quiet.
Yeah.
This is about encouraging, because it really needs to be a family effort to do this.
Yeah. How much fish, in particular salmon, can we eat, should we eat on a weekly basis?
Well, right now, recommendations being looking at having fish 1 to 2 times a week, which really isn't enough to optimize the omega-3. I would say people should eat it at least 4 times a week. And that's not anything against other animal source protein. It's just, what's the ROI? What am I getting in certain fish that I'm not going to get in other types of protein? So maybe starting, at the starting point, maybe we're having salmon Sunday. All right, that works. And then maybe we can have tilapia Tuesday or trout Thursday. Right. So we start to introduce in these things more. And I think the other thing about this is making it familiar, right? So if the child is used to having something in a burger form, then serve it that way, right? Or you can serve it in a meatball. That way, It doesn't have to look so foreign on the plate, because that's usually the not going to give it a taste.
Yeah, it's interesting to see a lot of...
We could do that with these professional athletes that are 2-year-olds and big body.
No,
it's exactly
really?
the same thing.
Because they're picky as well, right? Professional athletes must be picky as well. They grew up, however they grew up. And
selective.
Suddenly,
call them selective.
Right, selective, right. My children are extremely selective. Heck, my wife is selective as well. So how do you communicate this to... how do you communicate the need to incorporate more seafood in a world like ours, where seafood is not necessarily accessible all the time, or at least fresh seafood isn't accessible all the time? What are some of the corners we can cut to kind of get that accessibility and be able to afford it, and make it tasty, and again, it having to be there? Because honestly, when I walk into a supermarket, 9 times out of 10, I don't like what I'm seeing at the fishmonger counter. What do we do that? And it's a small little area too. What can we do to get that accessibility to more Americans?
Well, I think it's really the same conversation we have about various types of produce. It's not just one way. It's not just about fresh. We can look in other parts of the grocery store. And people always say, don't go down the aisles. Go down the aisles, because you're going to find some surprises there. So when we look at smash, right, if we're looking at sardine and mackerel and anchovies and salmon and herring, where are you going to find those? Not just at the fish counter. Yeah. We're going to find those in the aisle. And so it's canned, which means it'll have a longer shelf life. Yes. That's a good thing. It's less money.
Right.
I don't have to cook it, because it already is. So that's taking time off my plate, and it can be incredibly versatile. What am I going to add that to? Maybe I'm going to take that mackerel and I'm going to throw that into a clam chowder. Why not? I mean, that's an easy thing to do as the starting point, and then it becomes something that is accessible to all, not just available to a few.
Yeah. What seafood do you like to order when you go to the restaurant? What is like your go-to? You see, like, oh, they have this. What do you like?
Well, I mean, usually it's salmon if I can. If it is something like a miso cod, I'm there.
Yeah.
Like give it to me. I love it. I'll do clam. Love clam. Not so great in Western Pennsylvania. Yeah. But when we travel, it's like, yes, we do. And we're always about trying new fish, especially because where we live, choices aren't great. So when we travel, it's kind of making the travel plans according to what's around. Yes, we're going to a coast, because guess what? They have fish there.
Well, that's the one problem I have, is that sometimes you go to the coast and there isn't any seafood there, and you're like, we're at the coast. How are you importing this from Canada when your sea is right there? And it's kind of like this miscommunication between land and sea and people. And I mean, I remember going to, I was in Puerto Rico recently, and I mean, talk about the sea is all around you. Everything that was seafood on the menu was imported from the United States, from landlocked United States, from Canada. Even the lobster. I mean, it was all imported. How can we push these restaurants? How can we tell people that you need to be more of a locavore, really get out there and see what is it that the sea offers you nearby, and kind of get that incorporated into the restaurant industry as well?
Yeah, I think it's really that message about what's that value added is. What are you doing that differentiates you from other restaurants that are out there, of trying, the interest is there, this idea of being efficient, or that you can be better than your competitor because this is what you are trying to incorporate in. And maybe there are some familiar dishes that are on the menu, change them up. Maybe you think about what fish or what other seafood you're going to add to the mix.
Yeah.
Create a great cioppino or bouillabaisse.
Oh,
Why
yeah.
not?
Good luck with making a bouillabaisse. There's no time. For the folks out there who work out and they have their muscle sores, or they came out from a big jog, or whatever it is, what would be the ultimate food that you would recommend these, not pro athletes, but athletes eat after their run? What is that one special food that they should be absolutely putting in their mouth right after that workout?
Yeah, you know what? Instead of maybe something like a PBJ or a protein bar, is maybe we can have some salmon jerky. I am serious. Is looking at something that's providing the protein and providing the omega-3s. That's probably not in a smoothie. People don't want to do that. But trying to think about having some fish in some way, shape, or form, or even like little bites. Like a little, I sometimes do this with my athletes, with like rice on the outside, a little bit of salmon in the middle, and okay, that works. Now I have my carbohydrate, and I have my omega-3s, and I'm having some protein to seal the deal and help my body recover.
And this is why I say I could eat sushi for the rest of my life, because it truly is good for you. And I can understand why people look at the Japanese culture and they say they're one of the healthiest, mind-focused people on earth, because seafood is in their diet from the moment they're born. And it just makes sense. Even something like the Mediterranean diet with the sardines and the fattier fish, it's just we don't even need to do any scientific studies. It's right there within the culture, within the population. And I don't know why it's taken so long for us to finally realize what you're saying, Leslie. It's amazing.
You know, we just keep having these conversations and try and extol the virtues of fish across the board, make everybody an aficionado. That's what needs to be happening.
Yeah. Well, listen, if I'm coming over to your house tonight for dinner, what are you serving me?
Oh, actually, hopefully Grandpa's making something because he's with the boys and I'll be on a flight back home tonight. But most likely there actually is some great markets in Exeter, New Hampshire. So, and we had king salmon the other night. It was fantastic. So I think there was a little bit left. If he didn't eat it or Joshua doesn't eat it, older grandson loves it. So I don't know, Grandma might be fending for herself tonight.
I overmake salmon all the time because cold salmon is the best in salads. Like, cold salmon is my thing.
Absolutely.
I absolutely love it.
The best.
Leslie, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We really appreciate you taking your time. I know it's been a busy day today, but you have been fantastic to speak to, but also to listen to during the panel discussions. I mean, I could talk to you for hours on end, but so thank you so much, Leslie. Thank you. And folks, if you guys still want to see more recipes about me making salmon and all these other great recipes, Mowi actually has a YouTube channel. It's called Mowi Salmon TV. Just check it out right there on YouTube, and you'll find a ton of recipes on how to cook salmon and to eat it like Leslie tells us to eat it, especially after a workout. If you like this podcast, please subscribe to it at Decoding Seafood by Mowi and anywhere you get your podcasts. My name is George Duran. Till next time.